In today's video, I wanted to talk to you about this idea of being a light sleeper. Again, this is something that comes up in my practice quite a lot when people define themselves as a light sleeper and historically not being able to sleep well because of it. Now, in this video, we're really going to look at the practicalities. So whether or not you're describing yourself a light sleeper or you just want to understand the difference between light sleep and deeper sleep, then we're going to cover both of those things in this video. But it's important not to look at this video in a very scientific way, because I'm really just going to talk to you about the practicalities that I see in my practice. If you're interested in the sleep stages and how deep they are and what defines them as deeper sleep and so on, in more of that sort of more scientific description, you can check out my other video on the 5 sleep stages that I go through and describe them. In today's video, we're really going to look at more of this practical part, which can really help you to start overcoming your long-term sleep problems and insomnia, especially if you've been defining yourself as a light sleeper and you think that's one of the reasons that you're not able to sleep well consistently or that your sleep is disturbed. Now, before we go into today's video, I wanted to welcome you back if you are part of my community, whether that's through my email community or online. And if you're new, then let me quickly introduce myself. So my name is Beatrix Schmidt. I'm a sleep coach, a professional speaker, and the creator of a Sleep Skills for Life program, which is my way of really helping people like you to overcome their long-term sleep problems and insomnia as well. Now that we covered that, one more thing to ask. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button below, hit that little bell as well so I can let you know when I post new videos. And if you have enjoyed and liked this video at the end, hit that like button below as well. This really just helps me to reach more people and really understand what kind of things you're interested in, so I can really help you through the content that I post out. So now that we covered that, let's really talk about what I see in my practice as this light sleeper definition. Now, this is something that literally comes up in my practice on a daily basis almost. A lot of the times, over a period of time when somebody has struggled with sleep problems, this idea of a light sleeper becomes part of their identity, part of the struggles, and part of the mind's way of explaining why you might not be able to sleep in a deeper way or you get disturbed. So again, it's a very normal way to pick up this sort of definition through the journey of either looking at sleep or looking at resources. So this is again a very normal thing that people actually end up with more often than perhaps you might think. Now, if you're calling yourself a light sleeper, one of the things that I've seen in my practice is actually it often comes from, as one version, from your childhood. So parents might refer or might have referred to you as someone who is a light sleeper. I remember when my parents used to tell me that I used to sort of wander into their bedroom in the middle of the night and not even remember it. So again, some of those conversations also included them referring to me as a light sleeper, not being able to sleep in sort of moving vehicles or cars, trains. I still can't, but it does not qualify in exact way whether or not you're able to sleep in a deeper way. So the first part is when you have perhaps even historically or from childhood you've been described as a light sleeper. Now, one of the things I see with that version, it doesn't make it untrue, obviously, but sometimes when your parents might not have had the ability to be able to show you how to overcome some of those maybe even smaller challenges you had with your sleep, of course, they would have thought that that's the way it is and there is nothing they can do about it so that you can improve it. But being defined as a light sleeper from childhood is not always accurate, because it simply leads back to have your parents been able to really help you to improve your sleep and make it better quality, therefore deeper as well. Sometimes the simple answer is that they didn't have the knowledge, the skills, or the understanding of what to do in those circumstances. So if it comes from childhood, what's really important is to really look at addressing it in a practical way. And I'll talk about it in a little while as well. The second part that I see is when somebody has actually developed sleep problems, potentially even longer term insomnia, and now they really, over a number of years or a number of months, they surrender to this idea that they're not able to sleep deeply. Now, when it comes to more of the behavioral and sleep training for adults, so this is all for us grown-ups, when we look at really retraining the body and the mind to be able to sleep well, depthness of sleep can be created. And so I'll go into it in a little while. And that's why it's important not to surrender to this idea of, well, I'm light sleeper and that's it, but to really look for practical ways of helping you to deepen the sleep and actually train the body and the mind to be able to really surrender to this full-on relaxation, meaning you're not waking up so frequently, or you're not dozing more, meaning certain sleep stages versus deeper sleep stages. So again, this is just a practical way of really looking at it. So these are the two things I see. One is often coming from a childhood experience, or even parents being calling you a light sleeper. And the second one is through sleep problems. Now, either one of those, I would always start with that assessment, and I talk about it all the time. If you're not really able to truly understand what might be the reasons why you're more of a light sleeper, then it's going to stop you to be able to actually truly overcome it and put in place the appropriate things that can help you. So let me sort of explain what I mean by that. So light sleep in its purest form, just like I mentioned sleep stages that I linked earlier on, there are lighter sleep stages that do happen. So it is completely possible that throughout your night, and this can be diagnosable, again, assessment is important rather than self-diagnosing, that you're not experiencing as much of a deeper stages of sleep. But it doesn't mean that it makes you a light sleeper in the way that potentially you picked it up over the years. Sleep can be deepened even for those who spend more time in the light sleep, often through behavioral training and actually training the body and the mind in different ways. Okay, so I have seen this in my practice where even though they have, the client might have had a sleep assessment and it was actually picked up that through the sleep study, it was picked up that they're experiencing more of the lighter sleep stages, we still managed to actually get them to experience a deeper sleep stage later on. So it's still possible, but there's going to be a group of people where this is picked up through a sleep study. That the combination of stages, sleep stages, and how they vary and what type of sleep stage you're going into is slightly different compared to other people. And again, this is why that assessment is really important. Then the second part is when simply through sleep struggles, you're not able to actually really experience deeper versions of sleep. And again, this links back to a lot of different things that I talked about over the last couple of months, which is what kind of traits you have, so personality traits. One of the most common things I see with more thinker types or people who have more the worry type behaviors or traits is that because your mind is always either analyzing, thinking, problem solving, or worrying, if you're not able to know how to decrease that intensity or learn to actually allow the mind to calm down, then the lighter sleep stages and lighter sleep, so both in terms of actual stages and the feeling of how deep your sleep is going to be impacted negatively. Mostly because if your value thinking time and perhaps problem solving time and so on, and you do that most of the time during the day, the only thing your body and your mind knows is how to behave that way. So now that just because you climbed into bed, if you don't have the appropriate skill sets to make that transition, your body and your mind just continues doing the same thing as you've done during the day. So I often talk about sort of the next mindset, or I talk about various different behaviors and mindsets within my work that actually matches your inability to be able to really surrender to deeper type of sleep. Simply because if, let's say, thinking or your mind racing is a very common thing, that's what your body and your mind is used to. It's not used to full-on relaxation in its more optimal way, meaning a deeper type of relaxation. And when I mean relaxation, it's physical relaxation, emotional relaxation, and mental relaxation as well. So all three are required for us to really be able to surrender to this really deeper part of sleep. So this is more of that practical explanation. Yes, there is the sleep study that will establish whether or not you're perhaps got some issues that can be treatable still, that stops you being able to get into deeper sleep stages. But most of the things I see within my practice is more of this lack of ability to be able to completely, fully relax and optimize that relaxation so that your body can surrender to this physical, emotional, and mental combined relaxation so that you can really drift into that deeper part of sleep. So this is the most practical way to describe that. This difference between how do you get to deeper sleep from lighter sleep. But one of the other things that often people don't quite think about is that it takes time. You can train the body and the mind to optimize sleep, meaning really be able to know how to sleep well, and therefore the depthness will come. But it's not a quick thing. It's not going to happen overnight. So even if you have a one-off night during which your sleep felt incredibly deep, the question is, can you repeat it in a proactive way? And that's really a good way to looking at whether or not you need more tools, techniques, or skill sets to be able to consistently create that. So this light sleeper versus deep sleeper is often, again, a very common conversation I have with clients. And I have worked with clients who have historically said, I'm a light sleeper, I can't sleep with other people, I might need earplugs or eye masks or any kind of sort of blocking things in order to be able to really have that absolute peace and quiet for me to be able to sleep well. Your body and your mind is completely capable of sleeping even if there is noise around. And again, I mentioned loads of different things over the years in my videos about background noise, environment, external noises, even something like a snoring partner. The body and the mind is completely capable of getting used to really filing away these different things instead of treating them as threats to stop us being able to sleep well. So again, this is one of the things that comes with this idea of light sleeper, is everything often becomes the reason why you might not be able to sleep well. And they're all valid reasons, but it doesn't mean that it has to cause an issue. You can learn to actually really familiarize yourself with the environment so none of these external things will actually really bother you, and allows you to really drift into these deeper, more refreshing, recharging sleep. So I hope this video has helped you to clarify whether or not it's possible to sleep deeper, and to really, I guess, to challenge your own definition of being a light sleeper, because a lot of the times when in my practice, it doesn't really serve the client. When you think you can't do something, it's less like you're going to put the effort in, and it's less like you're actually going to really commit to doing the work. But when we really do the work, then the results will come, and therefore light sleeping does not have to continue to be a problem. So I hope this video has helped you, and this practical view has really helped you. If you haven't yet, hit that like button below. I would really appreciate that. If you have something to share in relation to being a light sleeper, then pop them in the comment box below or reach out via my website separately. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to become part of my community, subscribe to my channel, and hit that little bell as well so I can let you know when I post new videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.